Our next reader is a proud Chicago native who holds a BA in English and Spanish from the University of Iowa and an MFA in creative nonfiction writing from Columbia College, Chicago. There, she taught undergraduate writing and rhetoric and started editing for both Arcturus Magazine and Hotel America. She has interned with Folio Literary Management, the Iowa Youth Writing Project, and the Frank Lloyd Wright Preservation Trust, and spent a year teaching high school students English in Madrid, Spain, on a Fulbright grant. Currently, she writes content for Groupon and runs a recurring reading series called Read Some Shit at Alive One in Lincoln Park. That's great. She's also working on publishing her first essay collection. Please welcome to Tuesday Fun, Sophie Amado.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you. I'm excited to read tonight, especially to be a part of our writing community and wake up Toni Morrison today. So thank you all for coming out. This is a creative nonfiction essay called Circles. It's about time. I'll just say that vaguely, which I think is life and literature's biggest cliffhanger. So, and this first part, or the intro to it, is a definition paragraph. So, Sonder, noun. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, populated by their own ambitions, friends, routines, worries, and inherited craziness. An epic story that continues invisibly around you like an anthill sprawling deep underground, with elaborate passageways to thousands of other lives that you'll never know existed, in which you might appear only once as an extra sipping coffee in the background, as a blur of traffic passing on the highway, as a lighted window at dusk. I think what spurred my current obsession was an ad on the bus, Dwell in the Now. This sign was advertising an apartment hunting service, so the idea of nowness was emphasized. Don't wait, get this apartment now. It made me wonder not about apartments, but about the concept of now, or rather how noun is a very fast thing, a short-lived thing, something I can't really put my finger on. Aristotle once said, not only do we measure change by time, but time by change, because they are defined by one another. So if changes are measured by time and time by change, how do we measure now? Is there even such a thing? Like how in one now, I was at my part-time bartending job, entering a drink order on a computer touchscreen. At the same time, my best friend was flying from LA to Chicago. When he landed, he texted me what we had both been thinking. How strange that we had been doing two completely different things at the same time. He bolting through the air at a fast pace while I was doing a mundane task at a restaurant. This suddenly became a daily fixation. Once I was waiting by a bus stop and two of the same numbered buses came towards me. I boarded the one in front since it looked empty and it was closer to my position. I wonder how different my life would have been if I'd boarded the second one. In another universe, I did board that bus and nothing remarkable happened at all. Probably. But I'll never know because in that past now I chose one path over another. Or perhaps my life would have changed drastically. Maybe if I'd boarded the second bus, I would have encountered a man choking on a granola bar, performed the Heimlich maneuver, and I would have saved his life. By boarding bus number 1, did I kill someone? Even more odd is that during my thoughts of which bus to choose, other things were happening. A couple broke up, a tulip bud blossomed, bread was being kneaded, a silo sat and held corn, and that's just the way it was, for that now. An infinite ripple in the water pool that is time. I wonder if other people think this way. While someone is watching TV or doing their grocery shopping, is their mind thinking about what is happening to someone somewhere else? I wonder because this is something I do, a lot. Like a few weeks ago, I was in an airport alone and realized that I could just stay there forever and no one would notice that I'd never left. People constantly enter and exit airports, but I would just be a human speck in someone else's airport background. I cannot do this at the dentist office. I cannot sit there forever because the dentist is not a 24-hour operating establishment. And even if it was, surely a doctor would notice if I hadn't left my chair and ask me to leave for another patient's turn. Whenever I'm at the dentist, I think about how 6 months prior, since I'm one of those people who goes to the dentist every 6 months, I've been sitting in the same chair and reflect about everything that had happened in between the me sitting in the chair 6 months ago and the me sitting in the chair 6 months later. I wonder if I'm diseased by my thoughts about my experience of time. Is time perception a choice or a celestial sensation? I wonder if it would be better to not think this way, but I also cringe at that thought. Sometimes I pass the Metropolitan Correctional Center in the Loop of Chicago. It is a tall, pale, triangular building. The windows are not windows, but rather thin, rectangular slits, and to me it looks sturdier than other skyscrapers downtown. It's a building I enjoy looking at while gazing at Chicago's skyline, but this building is also its own little world that's very different than the one I'm immersed in when walking down Dearborn Street. Inside this building are what society would deem bad people. And just like my friend on a plane in the sky while I was working, I found myself walking in the loop while my headspace was inside the MCC with the men and women who were serving gruesome sentences I couldn't really imagine at all. While I was leaving Hero Coffee Bar with a $4.37 latte, someone in the correctional center was drinking a gross black coffee in the cafeteria to do something to make time go by quickly. It's difficult to think of all the simultaneous possible happenings at once, but that doesn't stop me from trying. Right now, someone is walking their golden retriever, someone made a wrong turn and got hit by a truck, someone cut their finger with a knife while chopping a shallot, someone got engaged at a sports stadium, someone is painting a dining room crimson, and someone is waiting for a mushroom asparagus quiche to cool. In the French film Amélie, the narrator says, "Amélie still seeks solitude. She amuses herself with silly questions about the world below, such as, how many people are having an orgasm right now? Scenes of various orgasms take place, and then Amélie says, 15. Someone just had an orgasm. Someone else just got shot." In the summer of 2016, I saw on TV the face of a little boy named Omran Daknesh. He was not on the news for winning a medal or saving a cat from a tree. Rather, his face went internationally viral, covered in dust and blood after an airstrike in Aleppo, Syria. Airstrikes were his norm, and as I watched the footage of him wiping his eyes in an ambulance, I became numb. My mind then went to the image of a young girl in Vietnam covered in napalm. She is naked and terrified, just 4 years older than Omran, just 4 decades prior. Both of these people, these children, were victims of their previous generation, tied to war and destruction in which they had no business being ensnared. Destruction like this is far too common. Even more common is how much I don't think about this. I am too far away doing something else. This begets the question, how often do we choose our thoughts? Thoughts pop up so quickly, I wonder if we let our minds select what we think about actively, or do we just let our thoughts fluctuate as they will? In 2016, I also lived right by North Avenue Beach, and my mornings were loud. The environment surrounding my neighborhood was polluted with unpleasant jet noises for the Chicago Air and Water Show. U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds and F-35 Heritage planes flew around the city for 4 days. It drew in thousands of visitors to the city. That year, I thought about how the same kind of machines destroyed Omran's home. I thought about huge questions like, how could I fix the Middle East? The places on Earth that live in constant distress, what could I do? As the planes danced around Chicago's skyline, across the world they were terrorizing young children and families alike for contrasting beliefs. Once I was watching the Navy Pier fireworks with a friend from graduate school, we talked about how the 4th of July was our favorite holiday. Despite how celebratory and lovely fireworks look in the sky, I always think about the irony of fireworks association with this holiday. Yes, Americans gained independence from the British, but surely the fireworks sounded like rifles, cannons, the same kind that killed many lives during the Revolutionary War and subsequent wars. Just like the Air and Water Show, fireworks are something destructive turned beautiful. Chicago in particular struggles during this holiday. Guns are shot. Guns can be shot because they sound like fireworks. The fireworks hide the gunshot sounds, and many people claim to be able to tell the difference between the two. This holiday is not safe. Are all of these thoughts just coincidence? The mind has thoughts all over the place. Our brain is a continuum of thoughts while things are happening outside of the mind, and I wonder where I'm supposed to put my focus. There's an old cliche about the way you look at a glass and where the water inside lands at the halfway mark. Is it half full or is it half empty? Are you a positive person or a negative one? There are so many different ways to view the world and all that's happening in it. What's happening in Syria, in Austria, in Brazil? What's happening there now while I just sit thinking about it? I imagine that someone else saw Omran's video and didn't think about it as much as I do. I imagine someone else saw that video and now runs an activist organization to help Syrian refugees. A half-glass full person would do the latter, while a half-glass empty person walks on by without being disrupted by thoughts of Omran. The news and social media has a way of diverting our attention so quickly too that I doubt anyone really thinks of Omran anymore, even though he is still living his life somewhere right now, whether agitated or calm, whether distressed or forgetful. Right now I am typing my thoughts while I imagine you, someone, are reading this if you are even there. And if you're not, you're probably brushing your hair, or peeling a clementine, or watching your wife give birth, or stretching your calf muscles before running a marathon, or none of the above, but doing one of all the possible things to do right now, while people around you are doing things too, similarly or not. Just like how the people trapped inside the MCC are doing things, or how you are doing things, or Omron. And if I think about the people in the MCC, or Aleppo, or my own memories, or how my friend flew in a plane while I was working, or all of the possibilities going on in this moment all at once, am I dwelling in the now? Thank you.